by just taking a moment to briefly introduce yourself as an influencer then?
Yeah, so I am Abi Drinkell, also known as Makeup by Abi Drinkell, and a lot of my other social medias. I'm
Hmm.
on various social media platforms, but mainly known on YouTube, Facebook, and Snapchat.
Awesome.
So,
Snapchat,
yeah.
that's quite unusual then, because none of the influencers I've talked to before have Snapchat. So what do you use that for?
It's a little bit more like less formal, if you know
Okay.
what I mean.
Hmm.
It's like I have a younger audience on there as well, so that is also something to think about on Snapchat. But yeah, it's not really a well-known social media, I don't think, that
No.
people rate on.
Yeah, I've more heard that it's used for like messaging and stuff like that. But that's great
Yeah,
if you found like, specific ages of people that view your content, you can really target them through that.
yeah, it's great. It's like a completely different sort of platform that I wasn't really used to, but I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of as well. So
Awesome. And that's the main thing, isn't it?
yeah, oh definitely.
So, what is your niche as an influencer then?
So I would have said before that my niche was makeup, but
Hmm.
it's more becoming fashion, as I've sort of developed allergies towards makeup now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sort of like coming away from the makeup part of my name and more becoming like just Abby Drinkle. But that's like a whole another conversation. But I would say I'm more fashion now, more fashion orientated. So
Yeah. What you said that's a whole nother conversation. Do you just want to go briefly into that a little bit? Going away
yeah.
from, maybe you are just who you are instead of a makeup influencer, if that makes sense.
It's more come about because this year I've sort of struggled with sinus flare-ups all the way
Okay.
through the year.
Mm.
So that has sort of brought me away from makeup. And even though I just love content creating, so I really wanted to carry on with it, but I was just dipping into plus size fashion
Hmm.
and looking at body positivity and body neutrality,
Mm.
and that's the sort of message that I wanted to like send out to people. So as well as doing makeup, I was also sending out the message of like loving yourself and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's more come about because of my own personal struggles with makeup. Doesn't mean that I don't like it anymore. I absolutely love it. I wish I could do more, but
Yeah.
it's just
That's
the
just
way
being
things are.
flexible though, isn't it? I suppose going with your current situation and making the most of it. And to be fair, I
Oh
think a lot of people really will respect, your message behind it. So it's not just makeup, it's, like you said, body neutrality and stuff like that as well.
yeah,
And showing that,
definitely.
plus size people can still, dress really nicely, obviously, and there's loads of fashion out there for them. And I think people will take a lot of inspiration from that, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. I
Yes,
really do. Yeah.
definitely. So the next, you kind of touched on this, but what platforms are you active on? So you said Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, didn't you?
I'm more active on YouTube.
YouTube, that's it.
Yeah, I just restarted my TikTok account. I used to have a 400,000 following
Oh
on
wow.
TikTok, but I remade my account because I think that platform has changed quite a lot,
Hmm.
and not to a lot of people's benefit. I started on TikTok when it was like first starting, like at the very, very beginning, and it was great. I loved
Hmm.
it, but it's sort of changed quite a lot over the years, and I just don't think it sort of resonates with me anymore. So
Okay, that's fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah. Any particular reason, or do you just kind of not enjoy it as much as the other platforms?
Well, I don't think I enjoy it, and also with all this new TikTok shop
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
yeah, it's sort of changed quite a lot in that sort of sense. So yeah, I think that's probably the main reason why I create all my videos on TikTok. I use the editor. That's
Hmm.
probably the most that I use it for. I still post on there, but I just don't get the reach or like the engagement that I usually get on there. So
Oh, okay. And I mean, it's
yeah.
quite similar to Instagram Reels as well, isn't it? So do you more go towards if you're going to post a video like that, either YouTube or Reels?
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I post across all of my platforms
Hmm.
with like hopes that I'll reach somebody. Um, but yeah, I do seem to get more luck on YouTube Shorts and
Mm.
Instagram Reels. Yeah.
Cool. So which is your favorite platform then out of all of them that you use and why?
I think my favorite platform is YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
because it has such like lots of different things that you can do on YouTube. There's
Mm.
YouTube Shorts. You can connect with your community, with YouTube community, and I can also do longer videos, which
Mm-hmm.
I've been sort of focusing on over the last 2 years, and I've really enjoyed as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that also is the main reason that steered me away from makeup, because I focused on fashion and doing reviews and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay.
it's yeah, it's been a really good platform. And I also think that YouTube themselves are really good as well,
Mm-hmm.
like looking after their creators and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're really good with that. So yeah, I think I'd say YouTube, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do on YouTube as far as, it's more of a chatty vibe, isn't it? So you can really kind of
Yeah.
make sure that your audience gets to know you and vice versa and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
obviously, I think one thing that people don't often realize is how time consuming editing is, especially with
Oh,
like the longer form content on YouTube and stuff like that. But I suppose
oh
if you
yeah.
enjoy the editing process, then it's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of long-winded. I wouldn't say that I enjoy editing, but I love the I love the filming part, and
Yeah.
once I get that video out, it feels really good. So
Yeah, the end product is
it's
worth it.
oh yeah, it's definitely worth it, all of it.
So what kind of
Yeah.
YouTube videos do you do then? You said reviews for fashion products.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I mainly do on there now. And my YouTube Shorts was mostly focused around makeup, but I've sort of gone into more short styling videos where
Okay.
I sort of show each item of clothing and sort of style an outfit together.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are like, I sort of go by like, I sort of go, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like some outfits I turn out like not liking, but I still post it anyways.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like showing my audience like you can just try new things, and if you don't like it, you don't have to try again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have
Yeah.
you ever had people really seem to like an outfit that maybe you don't like? Because people have such
Yeah.
different taste, don't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's
Mm.
something that I try to push out a lot. Like, something that I hate, loads of other people love,
Yeah.
and something that I love, loads of other people hate, which has happened quite a lot. So
Yeah,
it
it's
really is
interesting.
shown, yeah, that people have different tastes.
Lots of
Yeah.
diversity on social media for sure, and in general,
Oh
I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
how long have you been an influencer for then? We'll start off with how long you've been creating content, and then what kind of point you thought, I'm probably like classed as an influencer now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I started creating content in 2019.
Okay.
And towards the end of 2019, I
Mm-hmm.
started creating it for fun, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really class myself as like an influencer. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even have like a strategy at that point.
Mm.
I was just posting and thought it was fun, and I was doing it while I was at college as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would make my TikToks, because I was mainly on TikTok and Instagram
Mm-hmm.
back then, sorry. And I would go to college, and people would be watching my TikToks in class and everything.
Oh no.
And yeah, and I thought I'd be sorry,
That's
more
all right.
embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really, and I
Mm.
think then I just realized that how much it was helping me with my confidence as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, yeah, so I think that's the reason why I just started continuing on with it. And obviously, the next year the COVID pandemic started,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I really dived into it at that point. And I needed to find a way to just keep my name out there and
Mm.
keep my artwork out there, because at that point I was really focusing on makeup. And then yeah, it just sort of took off from there. And then after a couple of months, I just thought, I think I'd class myself as a as an influencer now, and I really started focusing on it. So yeah, it sort of started as like a fun thing that I just carried on, basically.
Did it take off quite quickly? Did you find, you'd wake up to loads more followers and be like, oh my God, where did they come from? Or was it more of a
Yeah,
gradual?
it was crazy. As soon
Mm.
as on TikTok, especially at the beginning, and Instagram, I'd wake up and I'd have like new followers, and it feel really crazy to me that
Mm.
people wanted to see what I was creating. And yeah, it was at first, it was really really crazy.
Mm.
And even now it is like, when I see
Yeah.
people, like new people following me, and I just think I'm just like I'm just like, I feel like a nobody just posting on social media. But then like people are really enjoying my stuff and telling me how much they're enjoying my stuff, and it really does mean like a lot,
Yeah.
because I've put a lot of effort into
Definitely.
it. So
100%.
yeah.
It is a lot of effort.
Yeah,
Did you ever
oh,
get any, did anyone in college ever give you a hard time when they saw your videos, or did you have a pretty good time with that? Because you hear people say that, don't you? You know, when they start off and they don't have very many followers, they get a little bit of stick for it. And then when you get loads of followers, the same people are like really impressed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think in college people were like sort of no, they were actually quite supportive about it and everything. I think when I was at school, I had made my YouTube channel, but I never posted on it. I think I was more scared when I was at school.
Yeah.
I always had that thing where I really wanted to be a YouTuber, which is quite ironic now
Yeah.
because I am one. But I always had that thing where I'd love to do YouTube, but just never had the confidence because I would get picked on quite a lot and now I'm doing all of the things that I would never have imagined that I was doing. Like my confidence and everything has just risen so much from doing all of this. And I think, like you said, I have had the same people who probably would have made fun of me for it when I was at school. Like coming to me and messaging me now is like crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's insane.
Yeah. Do you think the COVID pandemic then, do you think that sort of helped creators get out there a little bit more because, you know, people had a bit more time to use social media? Do you think that benefited you or?
I think it did, although in the beginning I wasn't really sure that it would take off, and it more took off after the sort of COVID pandemic. So it was more like 2021, I think, for me, where it started to raise even more. But yeah, it's sort of the COVID pandemic has sort of affected me like more than a lot of people in my life because I'm a carer for my little brother who has severe learning difficulties and severe immunity problems. So our lives haven't really changed that much, like from the beginning of all of that. So, like, I still stay at home like quite the majority of the time, whereas a lot of people are going out all sorts of places now and to have more of a normal life and everything. So, like, where the COVID was, I'm sort of still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, so it's sort of hard to differentiate when it is for everybody else.
Yeah, it's hard to
mean.
tell, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. So, but it has made things a lot more positive for me, anyways.
Definitely.
And yeah,
I think quite a few people have found that actually, haven't they? That they quite like working from home and, you know, being at home more.
oh yeah, that I definitely love that aspect of it. I love how like I get to be my own boss basically,
Yes,
and I can have my own timetable and work the way I want to around my own life. I love that about doing all of this. It's really good, yeah.
So,
And
what spurred you on to become an influencer within your niche then, in the sense of, you know, what made you decide to start creating content? Was it purely because you enjoyed it, or was it with the idea of, you know, I want to be a YouTuber as a career in the future? What was kind of your thought process when you began?
I think it was just fun. I just really enjoyed it, and then I think after that, like I started creating more goals for myself. So I think it started off as like a fun thing, and then as time went on, I started being like, well, I want to do this, I want to achieve that sort of thing, and I can see myself achieving this. So I was like setting myself mini goals. So I think it did start off as a fun thing, and it still carried on being a fun thing, but I just started creating goals for myself and thinking this could be something that works out for me, sort of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think as well it's nice starting out for fun because, you know, a lot of influencers, if they go in with the idea that, you know, oh, I need to make a full-time wage out of this, you know, I need to get this amount of followers and stuff like that, it can really take that enjoyment out of it, and a lot of them do end up stopping because it feels like a chore. So I feel like the way you did it is definitely more sustainable in the long term.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of pressure, just thinking about the money, half of it. And I didn't really think about that at the beginning, but I think it really depends, like what sort of support you have behind you as well. Because my mum acts as my manager as well, which is also really good, and she's really supportive as well. So I think I have that support behind me that maybe not a lot of other people have. Which sort of drives me forward. So that's probably what keeps me really positive about all of this, is having the support behind me, and I really wish everybody else had that as well. So maybe that's probably another reason why a lot of people end up stopping, because they've just got themselves. But I don't just have myself, I have other people like rooting for me in the background, sort of thing.
because it can be quite common, you hear with young people, you know, who say that they want to do influencing or YouTube or whatever, stuff like that. Their parents, you know, will tell them, because obviously they're a different generation. It wasn't even a thing when they were younger. And they'll say, you know, that's unrealistic. That's not going to earn you enough, you know, and try and steer them away from doing that, which is, it's got to be quite difficult. Do you know what I mean? When you really want to do something, but you've got all these people telling you it's a bad idea. So that's really good that you have that support system there. And it's turned out for the best as well, you know.
It really has, and it's something that I see it happen to other people where they just don't have the support, and I think that's like a really big thing, is like having the support and saying, look, you don't earn money like straight away with like influencing. That sort of comes after, or after a certain amount of time. And even now, like, I don't earn like millions of pounds, but it's still like it's still fun, and I really want to keep doing this because of how fun it is. Basically, it's sort of like a dream, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. It's so good that you still love it, for sure. So what is the secret to your success as an influencer then? What is one thing that you do that you think has led you to be successful?
I think the number one thing with social media is consistency. Like,
definitely.
posting daily is like the number one thing, and which has been quite difficult for me, especially when I've been ill. Like, I would love to post consistently, but obviously you need to prioritize yourself as well. But if you can post consistently, post every single day, because it does get you somewhere.
Definitely.
It does take up quite a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it. At the moment, I post 4 times a day on Instagram and Facebook, and 3 times a day on everything else.
Wow,
so,
that's very committed. I like that.
I really just think it's like the number one thing that helps out, and gets yourself pushed out there, because I think all algorithms on every social media favor consistency.
Definitely. Do you use scheduling tools, you know, on Instagram and stuff like that, or do you just post real time, you know, make the content and post it?
I used to use scheduling tools until, especially on Instagram, I use scheduling tools, but it just didn't work out for me. They would post at weird times, or I would go to see that it hasn't posted at all, and then it was like a glitch or something like that, and I just quickly learned that I can't rely on that. So I just started doing it myself. But with Snapchat, I found out that they had a scheduling tool, and that has made that a lot easier for me. So I just started scheduling my days, like right at the beginning, like in the morning, I would schedule my whole day for Snapchat, and then I wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. And then I just focus on everything else. So I have utilized them in some sense. But I also realized that you can't rely on them.
That's not very good, is it? If it's not going to post, it's not what you want.
No, it isn't. I would be like, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore, and then I go and check, and it hasn't even posted. Thought, oh wow,
not ideal.
No, it's not ideal at all.
So, what are your current goals as an influencer then? What would you like to achieve in the future?
That's difficult, because I always look at like the like close future, and just keep going and just hope for the best. But I would love to make a full-time income, like with YouTube. At the moment, I'm only half on their partnership program, and it's really difficult to get onto that. I've noticed, even though with my consistency and dedication to the platform, it's like just really difficult to get onto there. And I would love that. Obviously, you can see my plaque in the background.
Oh yes, there it is. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really big goal of mine for ages. I'm really pleased with that this year. I would also love to become a Snap star on Snapchat, which is what I was sort of working towards this year with the consistency on the app, and I sort of feel that might be possible for me at some point. And maybe hit 10,000 followers on Instagram as well. I think Instagram is one of those platforms that are just like the number one sort of platform, and it's also quite difficult to grow on, but it's sort of working out for me at the moment. So I do have that goal as well. So there's a couple, but I don't really put too much pressure on them. I just think I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing, and just hope for the best sort of thing.
That's definitely the best way to think about it. And again, it's another thing where if you put too much emphasis on the stats and the numbers, you know, it can sort of put a cloud over your head, if that makes sense, instead of it just being lighthearted. So it's nice to have things to work towards, but, you know, not too seriously.
Yeah, I don't take things too seriously. And when I feel like myself, like if I'm taking things too seriously, I just have to take a step back and be like, what am I doing this for? Am I doing
Yeah.
this for the
Hmm.
numbers, which isn't like a big thing, or am I doing this for my own enjoyment? So sometimes I really do have to step back and just say to myself, are you enjoying this? Because if you aren't enjoying it, then what's the point in doing it?
Yeah,
You
you
know
have
what
to
I
go back
mean?
to your why, don't you? Like why you started, like remember yourself when you started and why, and then
Oh,
just,
definitely.
definitely pretend you're
I,
back as that person, I suppose.
yeah, I definitely go back to that person, and I just think like I think back to a couple of years ago, and if I told myself like where I was now, she would be astounded.
Yes,
So
that's it, exactly.
yeah, yeah. So I always just remind myself where I came from, where I started, and to where I am now. And I just think, the only way is up. I just have to keep going, even if things aren't going my way right now. They will definitely go my way in the future if I
Exactly.
just carry on.
And it's
Yeah.
really hard, I think every influencer like plateaus at some point, or and like with
Oh yeah.
Instagram you can just lose followers for no reason one day, but then they'll go back up, and it's cliffs and dips and all that, isn't it? But you just have to
Yeah.
ride the wave, definitely.
Yeah, you can't get defeated about it. You
No,
can't.
no
It's
way.
one of those things. Yeah.
For sure. So, where do you see yourself as an influencer in 5 years' time from now? And I'd say that's the hardest question of all, because
Oh yeah.
5 years ago, you'd have no idea, would you, that you're in the position you are today?
No, I would have had no clue.
Mm.
And I was just talking about this to my mum the other day about how I hate that question. Where do you see yourself in
Yeah,
five
it
years'
is so
time?
difficult.
It is difficult. I would love to say that I'm still doing this
Hmm.
and that I am making I am making a full-time job out of it at the minute, but I would love for it to be like a financially stable full-time job. I
Yes, yeah.
mean, yeah, that would be the
It's always a
dream.
bit unpredictable, isn't it, social media, as
It,
far as income goes?
it's very unpredictable. But yeah, it's very unpredictable, and you can have really good months where you get a lot of like jobs and a lot of pay, and
Hmm.
then you'll just plateau for a couple of months, and you'll just think, oh, where
Yeah,
did
what
that
am I
all
doing
go?
wrong? But you're
Yeah,
not, it's just how it goes.
it's just that you take dips and then you go back up again. It's just
Yes.
one of those things. But I would love to say in 5 years' time that I'm still doing this because I really enjoy it. And even before I started doing all of this, it was a dream of mine. Just
Yeah.
at the back of my head, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. And as soon as I started doing it, I just thought this was made for me. I knew this was something that I wanted to do for a really really long time,
Hmm.
and yeah, it would be something that I'd love to carry on, even if like like some platforms just don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's one of those things that I always have at the back of my head, and that's why I'm on like various social medias
Yeah.
because someday like one of those platforms might just go out of
Yeah,
nowhere,
that's a good
and
idea. Yeah. I suppose
yeah,
if you're on
so
all of them, they're not all going to disappear at once, are they? You would hope not. So you should
no,
be
that
quite
that's
safe
it.
having all of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just think as long as I keep consistent on all of them, if one of them goes, I'll always have the others to fall back on. So
Exactly. That is a
yeah,
very smart idea.
yeah.
It's a bit like
So
how Musically kind of died, didn't it? And turned into TikTok.
yeah.
It's stuff like
Oh, and
that.
oh yeah, and I loved musical. I should have
Yeah.
known back then that that was something that I really enjoyed. It's just one of those things. It's like Vine as well. Like Vine was
Yeah.
really big a
And
couple
there's
of
just
years
nothing you
ago,
can
and
do about it, is there? But just adapt to the new things, I suppose.
yeah, and all of those Viners are really big back then. They're all on YouTube now, so they all
Yeah, yeah.
adapted. It's just
Exactly.
one of those things. If you're really into it, and I bet there was a lot of Viners back then who just felt defeated about it and didn't think
Mm.
they could go further, so they just dropped it off. But a lot of them just wanted to carry on because they loved it so much, so they moved on to a different platform. So I really admire that, and I think that's why I'm on various platforms because you never know what's going to happen
Yeah,
in
definitely.
5 years' time.
Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, what is your dream brand to work with then? Do you have one brand that you think, oh, I'd really like to collaborate with them?
I think there's a couple that I'd love to collaborate with. They were mainly makeup companies, but I've started to rethink that now because
Mm-hmm.
I'm more into fashion.
Mm.
Um, I think I love to collaborate with some fashion brands like Boohoo and Pretty
Mm.
Little Thing and stuff like that. Those sorts of brands seem a little bit hard to get to,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, because they're so
uh,
big, aren't they? And I bet they have a
yeah, they
lot of
are.
influencers reaching out as well.
Oh, definitely. And I've tried to reach out a couple of times, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Do you tend to do the
Yeah.
reaching out, or do you let brands come to you, or a bit of both?
A bit of both. At the beginning, it was all me, but
Mm.
and now that I've got to that point where I've like got some following, I've got some people watching my stuff and
Mm.
being interested. I've got more coming in than I have going out now.
Okay.
Like in my emails, so I sort of focus on what I have. Otherwise, it gets really overwhelming really
Yeah.
quickly.
I suppose in the
So
beginning you've got to be the one, you've got to put yourself out there and get your name out there for it to
yeah,
come back
that's
to you,
it.
and that's what's happened.
Yeah, you sort of have to get yourself known. And a lot of these brands that come towards me, I actually look back in my emails, and back in like 2020, I got in touch with them myself.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
I must have always been like in their systems, but like because I wasn't like this, like I didn't have that much followers and everything, they didn't really consider me back then. But they probably saw me in their systems, and then checked up on me now, and
Yeah,
they saw that it was
definitely.
all different. So
Yeah, it's definitely
um,
worth putting in that effort.
oh yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things. It's the consistency thing again. I think I
Yes,
would.
absolutely. That is the
Yeah,
key. Are you
that
working with
is.
any brands at the moment then, or what brands have you worked with in the past that you've enjoyed?
I've worked with a lot of brands. It's got to the point where it's hard to keep count of all the
Oh
brands that
wow.
I've worked with.
It's never a bad thing.
But the main. Yeah, but it's really, really good. And like I said, I would never have expected any of this to happen.
Yeah.
But I think some of the main ones, I work with Shein quite a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Shein's a one that keeps coming back to me. Um, and I've worked with Cider as
Hmm.
well a couple of times. A lot of plus size fashion brands that probably not a lot of people would have heard of, like
Hmm.
X Plus Wear, Bloom Chic. I've done a lot of paid work with.
Hmm.
Um, I get some gifted stuff from Morphe now as well.
Okay.
Morphe was
Hmm.
that was crazy to me when they reached out to me about like sending me stuff. No pressure to like put any content out, but they send me like gifted parcels
Oh
every
wow.
now and
Yeah.
then now. Yeah, and that's like crazy. I mean, I loved Morphe when I was like 18, and
Yeah.
I'm now 22,
You've made
and
the PR list.
yeah, it does. It feels crazy. It feels like a dream. And Makeup Revolution as well. That's one of my
Mm.
favorites. And they keep coming back to me as well. And they have such a lovely PR team as well. So there's a couple that I would have said like a year or so ago that they
Hmm.
were my dream brands to work with, but I've like already worked with them
Yeah.
now. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, there's always going to be like those brands that I just hope that they sort of see me and recognize me in the future.
Yeah,
So
definitely. So, what is the best piece of advice you have for those wanting to become or grow as an influencer within your niche? And I feel like I might know what you're going to say.
yes, consistency
Yes,
is
that's the
key,
one.
definitely. But also at the same time, just like go into the enjoyment of it. Just make sure you're enjoying it, because if you're not enjoying it, then really, like I said, what's the point of doing it if you're not enjoying it? Like, number one thing, make sure you enjoy it before you go into it.
Yes, definitely.
um, and also, like, consistency is something that you really have to dedicate yourself to. Like,
Mm.
it can take a lot of time, but I actually enjoy the like writing stuff out, the captions, as
Mm.
well as like filming everything. So I enjoy it as a whole, rather than just like filming stuff and everything. So I definitely think the two number one things is consistency, and just make sure you're enjoying it always,
Yeah.
because that's going to shine through in your content and what you're putting out online. People really can see whether you're putting your all into it, or you're just doing it for the money, like a
Yeah.
lot of
It's
people
so
start
obvious,
like.
isn't it?
It really is, when people are just doing it for like the money that they hope they're going to get, but
Mm.
then they realize that it's not as easy as that, and it's just, you have to put a lot of work into it, because even in that first year, you're not going to get all the paid work that you think you're going to
Yeah.
get. So you have to really enjoy the journey just from the very beginning as well.
Yeah, well,
So
that's the saying, isn't it? It sounds cliche, but enjoy the journey, not just the destination, because the journey's
yeah.
actually a lot more of it than the destination. Like, you
Oh,
spend more time
definitely.
in the journey than not, and you have to do things for nothing for a while until you actually get the rewards.
Yeah, oh definitely, the journey is just, it feels long, but it's definitely worth it for all of the things that you get towards the end, like the paid work and the achievements and the recognition. It all comes with hard work, like it is with anything. I don't think it's just with influencing, but anything. If you have a dream and if you have something that you want to work towards, you really have to have that enjoyment for it, because it shines through in anything that you do.
Yeah.
And
And
I will always say that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
even if it doesn't work out how you wanted it, at least you tried. If it's something
Oh
that you
yeah.
really want to do, then you know, go for it. And if it doesn't work out, at least you can say to yourself, well, I gave it a go. You know, at least I'm not wondering what if now. I think that's quite important.
It's like you never. I feel like a lot of people are quick to say like they failed and that it was all rubbish because they failed. But I always see like I don't really see failures. I see like something to like take into account of how I can change things.
Yeah, definitely.
Or go in a different direction. Like you said, like if it didn't work out, try something else, sort of thing. So yeah, it's just trying to have like if you really love something, just keep having a positive outlook, keep with that enjoyment, don't let it wash away, because it just washes away with everything and it sort of falls apart, and you don't want that.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So yeah,
awesome. Well, that is all of the questions. Thank you very much again for coming on. I think you smashed that.
You're welcome. It was really great talking about all of this. I've always wanted to do something like this where I just sort of gave my insight into like content creating and everything, because like I said, it's been a journey.
Yeah, definitely. And it's super interesting to, you know, for people to hear the behind the scenes, because there's a lot of things people assume about influencing and social media work that isn't true, or they don't realize, you know, everything that goes into it. So it is really important that, you know, people understand how it actually is.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I think a lot of people just think it's just going on your phone, taking a few seconds to post something, and then you just put your phone down, sort of thing. And I actually use my phone more for work than I do getting in touch with any of my friends or family these days.
Too.
It is. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it is good to give people some insight on how much it actually does take up time and effort. So yeah, I really do like talking about. Well, obviously, I feel like I come across like I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, so, passionate. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that to anybody. You have to be passionate about anything that you want to do. Like
100%. Really You've only got one life, so you may as well do it doing something you love.
Yeah, oh definitely. I always say that if you're sad and you're doing a job that you hate, just bite the bullet and just go for something that you really want to do. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, happiness at the end of the day is always the number one thing. Definitely.
100%.